Greetings, everybody. Welcome to 1 Degree of Scandalous.
You know, I could not have done this without Armin giving us a countdown of when to start. You know what? I'm a big fan of Sesame Street, and I know that was not near and that was not far. That was just the number system. Thank you, Armin, for counting us down for 1 Degree of Scandalous. Oh my, hey, Tom, remember I predicted back about day 2 of the Depp Heard trial. Mm-hmm. I say that she's going to lose. I said that, you know that. You I said, when it's over, she'll get the interview and she'll say that she's in love with Johnny Depp. I nailed it.
Nostradamus.
Yes.
Nostradamus over here. Beautiful prediction. You were exactly right. By the way, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. This, of course, is the world famous Kato Kalin, the one and only Tom Zenner right here. Episode number 4. If you haven't downloaded and subscribed to our YouTube channel and your podcast, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you do it because we are off and rolling and really having a good time doing these shows and getting a lot of great feedback. So getting bigger and bigger and bigger every week. Now back to your brilliant prediction. You were dead on. And Kato, there was a story today. So she's hit the circuit, you know, talking to, there's some sort of hookup between the Today Show and whatever was going on with her team. So she's been on there. Her lawyer's been on there. And she said she still has love for him. What? Are you kidding me? I mean, she sure didn't see that on the trial.
8.3 million reasons to be in love with him.
Right.
Of course.
Maybe they can negotiate.
Or something. Or that Elon Musk said he's not interested anymore. Maybe she just felt like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can make it work out. I think she felt that there was a spark in the courtroom. She felt it. I'm sure he didn't feel it. I think he has already moved on. I think he moved on. He never would have been in court in the first place. So he moved on. And you mentioned that she probably could get thousands, maybe $1 million for a sit-down interview. And I said, I don't know. And I know we have an expert later on that sit-down interviews. I did tons of them for network, at least 20 different interviews from Barbara Walters to I did Oprah. I did quite a few. They don't pay.
Yeah, Diane Sawyer. You did everybody.
Yeah. Right. You do it. You just do it. You don't do it for any. There's no money. You just want to have your point of view to come out.
Right. And sometimes you can get them to pay. Maybe if you don't want to talk to anybody, and you'll only do it at a certain price. So it sometimes works. But
maybe she did get paid. I don't know.
You know, it's interesting because I could understand. You know, Johnny's got. You know, he's magic, right? He can cast a spell on people, and whatever it was that she fell in love with was probably that energy, that charisma was there in the courtroom. By the way, we have a great show. It's the anniversary when we're taping this of the big story with OJ and Kato and just the horrible events about that. But there's so much to talk about since Kato was in the middle of it. And in a couple minutes, we're bringing in our first guest, a great one too. NBC Channel 4 legend right here in Los Angeles, Colin Nolan, who was in the middle of the car chase, in the middle of the trial, and in the middle of every damn big scandal in the history of LA over the last 35 years.
I'm telling you, I watched Conan on this special that was produced by NBC. It's superb. I had no idea. We're going to find out. Yeah. He's the lead car during that chase. Oh my God! Wait till I kept thinking. I'm going to ask Conan right there. What if this never would have happened if back in the day if they had Uber and OJ wasn't in an Uber? Conan, I want to ask Conan. What if OJ was in an Uber? There is no Al Collins. It's like
OJ would be telling the driver, "Could you turn the radio down a little bit? Could you maybe raise the temperature of the car?"
Yeah, so many different things with Uber. It'd be like OJ would be on Waze going, "No, there's a shortcut. Why are there police following?" Anyways, we're going to find that out from Conan.
We're going to get to Conan in 1 second and start talking about this. But before that, one last thing from the Johnny Depp. If you haven't listened to episode 3, go back and listen to that because we had Larry Foreman, the DUI guy from Louisville, Kentucky, and Kato, he said, because he was there, right? And he's the guy that sold the notes that he took on eBay. And when you asked him, you said, "Hey, do you think the jury was swayed by the fact that she didn't pay the charity?" Because that's what Larry did. He took that $15,000 and he sent it to LA Children's Hospital. She didn't, and she actually referenced that on the Today interview. That may have helped. That may have hurt her. Yeah, the fact that it was out.
It hurt her. She had 2 different charities to send money to that she didn't. She sent some. But she didn't fulfill her obligation of what she said. Will she do it later? Who knows? I doubt it. I think officially she's been dropped from Aquaman 2 from reading the trades. I found, I think possible dire straits, and I have no ill will towards Amber Heard. She hopefully gets acting jobs. I don't think it'll happen for quite a while. And, Johnny Depp's been dropped out of Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it's number 7 or no, it's 6. Mission Impossible is number 7. I get those mixed up. We're gonna I'm getting laughs from Armin, but it's one of the numbers there. Yeah. I always thought that the Fast and Furious, I think they're in like number 12, and number 12, Vin Diesel actually makes love to the car. So it's like
that's a must see.
It's like, what's going on? How many? Enough of the Fast and Furious, please. But speaking of Fast and Furious, I saw Conan driving. It was not fast or furious, but he was on this phone driving, which I think was illegal, but we won't get into that. I'm not a lawyer, although I have been in many trials. So
or at least one big one.
You know, when you start buying things in the market at trial size, you know you've been in court a little bit too much.
When you start asking for the trial size section, like Cato does. Okay, if you live in Los Angeles, you're going to recognize the face. Let's bring him in right now. Really, really happy and an honor to have this longtime legendary newsman right here in Los Angeles, Conan Nolan, who, Conan, I think I can say this, 36 years at one station. That's unbelievable.
Still looks the same.
Incredible. I worked in TV news. I was out after 4 months. Generally, they'd run me out of town. But Conan, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And with Cato here and with you here, it's only fitting that we talk a little bit about, the events of 28 years ago. It's hard to believe. It's still fresh for a lot of people. Cato is going to get into it in a little bit, with a few more memories of his and some stuff that maybe you've never heard before. But welcome to the show, Conan. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, Conan.
Delight to be here. Good to see you, Tom. Cato, it's been a while.
Yeah, you know what, Conan, like I mentioned you this special. You can tell me, I forget the name, but I watched it. You're phenomenal. But Tom, the OJ trial will always be in the news, and I think Conan will say the same thing. His special was in 2022. They had the TV show at Ryan Murphy that won 7 Emmys. They've had the ESPN that won the Oscar. It's always anytime there's a trial. Like I still get the calls like when there's a major trial or crime. I don't like getting the calls, but I'm the guy sometimes they go to. Conan, am I right? It's like will never end.
Yeah, it's because I think it's so unique. It's the confluence of race and class and justice. There's so many things that came together at that one moment. You can't. It's going to be real tough to replicate that going forward. And plus, the communications age has changed. To the point. So, yeah, I think it's unique and I think people are fascinated by it.
Yeah. Morbid fascination, whatever it is. But there was just so many elements to that story. And it started, with police being called to the murder scene and then the chase and then through the trial and everything. And of course, we've got two of the most perfect people to talk about it. Does it seem like a long time ago? Conan? Does it seem like almost 30 years? It's 28 years ago and people still probably bring it up to you.
They do all the time. Which is, to your point, sort of remarkable. It doesn't, it does seem that long ago, and then it doesn't. They're
and I can relate to that.
Right, and I'm sure Cato's the same way. There are parts of LA you can never see again the same way, ever since that moment. And there are certain names, Bundy, Rockingham, and even just going down to the criminal courts building downtown. That's just, it's seared in your memory. And it's sort of, again, once you go through it, you never see life the same way, certainly in LA.
No, and getting to that point, I was driving through and I probably for 18 years, I didn't even go into Brentwood. Then I had to go in those last few months. I get chills. I actually get the chills. Like I just, you cross over Bundy and to me, it's this emotion comes over me. It's compelling. I can't. It's not a good feeling. It's just this emotions come like, oh, and then I start thinking about time of 28 years and relationships that I had and I'll never have again. But
it was your life, and that's where you lived. That was your home too.
And yeah, exactly. And Conan, I'm watching the special and you are. Will you say the name of it? I want people to they can go back and watch it. It was produced at NBC.
It was like, I'll get the name of it because I want everybody to Google it and check it out. Plus, I don't want NBC to sue us when we cover some of this with footage from it. So.
Oh yeah, and it's so well made. But there's something that you had inside information. I had certain things that I was privy to knowing, but you mentioned something in there, and it blows my mind that you were sitting there when the guy in a BMW has a bloody knife. And he's in a BMW, he drops it off at the crime scene. Am I right? And then he drives off and you see this. And I'm wondering whatever happened to that store. What happened? If you could explain that, because I actually was watching it going, I've got to talk to Conan about this.
Right. Cato, there was just so many very strange things. It was one after another for months. And so, but I mention that just because it again, another moment seared in my memory. This is the day after they've cleaned up hadn't cleaned up the crime scene. As I found out later, LAPD is not responsible for cleaning up a crime scene. They process it, but it's up to the property owner to clean it up once they leave. And so there was no property owner who was doing that. So we're standing there after the cops have left, but there's dried blood on the walkway. And that was disturbing just to see it. But it was that moment. I'm in the gate ready to go on TV, and a car pulls up. A guy pops out, runs over, and as I'm waiting to go on, I'm watching him. I have no idea. He doesn't say anything. He just runs over, and I assume he had a knife because he chips something. I realize he's taking some of the dried blood off the walkway, and then he puts it in a bag, runs back into his sports car, and takes off. Yeah. And I wasn't in a position to ask him, "What the hell are you doing?" But at that time, I'm saying, this may be emblematic of just how weird this is going to be.
And that was just day 2, basically, right? I mean, and no way could you have any idea where that week could go. You know, another great part, Cato, when you remember from that special on NBC is, Conan, when you got the call from the assignment editor that this was happening, and you somehow end up on the freeway. So this is on the Friday of the chase. And the most unbelievable thing about this is somehow you actually become right there. You are on the freeway. And I'm not even going to tell people where you were. I mean, tell them the position that you had by happenstance or maybe by good luck or great reporting.
Well, remember that we weren't sure where OJ was going to turn himself in. We had been led to believe that was going to happen, that Robert Shapiro had made a deal, and Robert Kardashian was in on it as well, and that they were going to somehow surrender OJ Simpson. So I was sent to, I think, Hollywood Station, because they thought, well, maybe they'll do it here, or West LA Station. And we realized that wasn't happening. So we went down to Parker Center, the former police department headquarters. And that was where David Gascon, who's an assistant chief of the LAPD, in the auditorium they had there, filled with reporters, made the announcement, OJ Simpson is a fugitive from justice. And there was a reporter, Mark Coogan from KBC, I was standing next to, and he turned to me and in his best Howard Cosell accent said, "The juice is on the loose." Yeah. And so everybody, there's gasps, and we don't know where he is. And so I get a phone call from our assignment desk who says, "We think he may be in Orange County. Head that way." And so I took a photographer, a guy named Dana Roker, who's been an NBC Nightly News photographer for years. And we get in this pissy little van. There are no windows to it. There's no signage on it. Just a little, I don't know why we even had trucks like that.
I drive one now.
And we're headed down towards Orange County because the rumor was he might be at Nicole's gravesite. And then on the CHP scanner, we hear that their police have found him. He's on the freeway. They're tracking him by cell phone. He's talking to them by cell phone, and he's headed in our direction. So I told the photographer, get off the freeway, get back on going in the opposite direction, pull to the side. I'll drive. You sit in the passenger seat, get your camera out, and we'll wait for him. And about 2 minutes later, I look in my rearview mirror, and there's this phalanx of police cars and the white Ford Bronco, and we pull out in front of him. And then for the next, I don't know how much longer it was, but I finally got on the cell phone with the assignment desk and said, "I'm in front of OJ Simpson. That's our van in the helicopter shot. Are you ready to take me?" And so, yes, it was a violation.
Yeah. I remember, Conan, you're talking to the assignment desk. They're going, "Conan, we're pretty busy over here." And you're saying, I got OJ. I've got him following me in the car. And the whole thing is, at any point were the police ever trying to drive up past the Bronco to you going, "Get off the road," because no one knew it was you. I was wondering I was
expecting that to happen, Cato. Because you don't want to interfere with a police matter, and that's sort of what we were doing. But we weren't the only ones, as you well know. Part of the surreal nature of this was that the entire freeways stopped. I remember seeing people on overpasses with signs saying "Go OJ," and I remember thinking, How did they have time to actually make a sign? Has it been going on this long? People were stopped on the oncoming traffic. We were seeing collisions. In fact, eventually, after a half hour or how long it was, we ended up letting them pass because there were so many car accidents happening in front of us. We came close to getting into one. And people were stopping on the freeway.
Yeah. Michael's did record sales that day of poster board and markers. You know, everybody doing signs and getting to the edge of the freeway. Okay, Conan, you're a competitive newsman, a reporter. What were you thinking when were you in front of him? That I have the scoop of the century, that I am the only one here? Did those thoughts go through your mind at all, that I cannot believe I'm in this position right now where the whole world could be watching?
Actually, no. What was in my mind was the letter that Robert Kardashian had read, that OJ had written, and that it sounded like a suicide letter. Don't feel sorry for this poor soul. You know, he talked about blame the media. It sounded like he had committed suicide, or he was about to. So when we're driving, Paul Moyer says, by the way, police say that he's in the back seat with a gun. I'm thinking, okay, he's about to commit suicide. He's going to blame us, and he's going to wait for us for him to see our camera taking his picture, and then boom, he'll take his own life. It will be on TV. He'll blame NBC. He'll blame me. That's what I was thinking. Don't make this about us, and don't give him the opportunity, if he is suicidal, to do it with us training a camera on him. That was my.
And you know, it's so almost if you're a screenwriter, you can't write what was kind of happening. You would just go, this is too unbelievable. But am I right that while the chase is going on, the suicide letter is being read? I think I'm right. Like, this is all the news. There's a Bronco chase. Then they got Robert Kardashian reading a suicide note from OJ with the famous happy face on it, which I don't think a lot of people put a happy face on their suicide letter.
Pre-emoji.
Right. Pre-emojis. And there was something else that's happening.
Well, it was all handwritten.
The basketball game. It starts with a shot of the game, but then the game becomes the small square in the TV.
What was boring was the 90s.
Yeah,
NBA
it was like, this is like, you knew, like you said, Cody, you know, this is going to be bigger. It's just going to be so amplified when the trial happens. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is, you know, it's Shakespearean.
It wasn't just a basketball game. It was the NBA finals.
Oh yeah, the finals.
And the game stopped when they put it on the Jumbotron. Because the players were then watching it. It was it was a moment. The police chief at the time said that it was because of that, and of course subsequently OJ, that he took a vacation to a safari vacation in Africa, and he was recognized in a village, and that he realized, oh crap, now I know how global this went, when Aborigines in Central Africa and the Congo could recognize the police chief of LAPD because of the OJ chase and trial.
Unbelievable. He was a bit player. I mean, it wasn't like Conan that was getting network airtime every single day. You can imagine his recognizability factor. By the way, not to change subjects, but Conan, have you ever interviewed Cato? Have you ever had the opportunity to interview Cato? Anything you'd like to ask him?
Cato, I have to say, I thought you handled yourself with great dexterity and class during that whole thing. It was very difficult. I understand that, but whereas a lot of people sort of came undone, you never did, and I you were one of the solid citizens of that, and plus I think emblematic of of an LA lifestyle, which we live here, we love. But I seriously, I really thought you did you held yourself with poise and
wow.
There was clarity. You didn't obfuscate. You didn't try to, there wasn't anything you were trying to put off on anybody. All you did was ask whatever question was answered of you to the best of your ability. People recognize that. So I never got a chance to tell you that, but I thought you, of all the people in that entire universe, you were one of those could hold your head up high at the end of it and said you did everything you could to benefit whoever it was, but in the effort of justice, to play the role. And so it's worthy to say that Cato Kalin did his duty back then, And
Well, I really appreciate those kind words. And believe it or not, even though 28 years later, hearing those words makes a huge difference. And I really appreciate it, because it really does, Conan, make a huge difference. And I think when I was on the trial and people say I had the deer in the headlight look, I'll tell you why. It's because I wanted to make 100% sure I answered everything correctly. And I took my time, and I think people thought he's hiding something, whatever he is, but I'm not. I was being so honest, and that's it. And thank you, Conan.
Well, no, but I remember covering the trial. It was, to me, it was clear. There are plenty of people who had agendas, but you weren't one of them. And I think most everybody also felt that way. So not many people came out of that trial in a good light. I thought you did.
Yeah. Conan, do you remember some of the frenzy around it, like watching the trial, maybe seeing Cato or seeing just some of the crazy antics that were going on, maybe that involved him, or how was it? Did you have to wait in line? Did you have a guaranteed spot inside there, or how often were you in the courthouse?
I was in the courtroom part of the time. I remember once during this is a funny story, in the preliminary hearing, there's actually a prelim before they went to the trial, and Robert Kardashian, I went to the men's room at criminal courts, and I'm at the urinal, and Michael Fleeman from the Associated Press is in another urinal, and Bob Kardashian, not Kardashian, but Robert Shapiro, walks and uses the middle urinal, and he looks around and he says, "Help me out, boys. What do you got?" And at the time, the cops were talking about how they went into Rockingham because they saw a little bit of blood and they thought there might be an assailant attacking OJ, which is why they didn't get a warrant to go in. And I said, listen, if the cops said that they thought there might be a gunman in the house, did anybody call SWAT? Did anybody set up a perimeter around the house? Did anybody use any of the protocols that are usually used when you have a shooter in that case? And the next thing out of his mouth in court was, "Hey, where was SWAT? Why didn't you guys call SWAT?" This perimeter, and I'm thinking, "Oh shit!"
That's a billable hour for you, Conan. You should have got paid, man.
Conan, first of all, if I'm in a urinal and someone says, "Hey, can you help me out here?" I would right there. I'd go, "Wait a minute, what? What?" You go, wait for the guy to go, "My nails are wet," and I'd worry right there. Thank goodness it was about that.
That's about the one thing that didn't happen in that trial. Judge Ito, can you help me out here?
Yeah.
Man.
I do remember it was frankly also coming out of the bathroom. I saw one of the two detectives, and Mark Furman had just testified, and he looked fine to me. This is before we found out he was racist. And I looked at, and I'm trying to remember which of the detectives I said, "Hey, Furman, he seems to be doing a pretty good job." And he looked at me and he was completely expressionless. No smile, no. And I realized later, oh shit, he knows. He knew at the time that this was going to be problematic.
What was coming, right? Oh man, could you imagine what that feeling would be like? Because you can't hide it. I mean, the whole world's going to know in a couple of hours, and then it's going to be the one thing that they're going to pin everything on. Let me give you credit for a couple of things here, Conan, maybe that people don't know. Two indelible images from that whole week. One, when OJ had the handcuffs on, right? You guys were the only ones to get that shot. So if you see that shot in video, that's courtesy of Conan's team at NBC4. The other one is whenever you see the perspective from where you see the front of the Bronco, that's being shot by you guys through your rear view mirror. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's why it looks weird, because I think the driver's on the wrong side. But yeah, that's the only way. And that was the other reason we didn't have any other way to shoot that other than pulling to his side. And we didn't want to do that because we thought he was suicidal.
It's so iconic. And you had no idea at that time. It's the most artsy shot, the rear view mirror shot of that. It's like, it's on that shot. It is iconic. And I think it was the lead on every news story, that one shot of yours. I don't know if NBC, if it's becomes public, can anybody use that shot? I know when you shoot something, you own it, but I didn't know if NBC let every network have that.
I think I've seen it elsewhere. I don't think the attorneys are too concerned at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You've had a great career, 36 years in LA. You've seen probably a few scandals. Yeah. This is number one to everybody, but what's number two? What if you had to say number two? I mean, you probably covered Michael Jackson. You probably covered the Menendez. I know you
mentioned Night Stalker. Yeah.
Night Stalker, serial killers in LA.
I do remember the first Michael Jackson. I got a call from a assignment desk coming in and says, we got a tip. Now, this is the first one. We got a tip that Michael Jackson is under investigation for child abuse, but we can't confirm it. So I came into work and I started calling, because Neverland is in Santa Barbara County. And the closest, and we had heard that LAPD had raided Neverland. So I started calling locksmiths in Santa Maria, calling to see, did you guys get called? I might run out of power here, boys. Hang on for a second.
Okay, sure.
I said, did you guys get called about a raid at Neverland? LAPD says, no. And finally, one guy picks up and I said, did LAPD ever call you this weekend to go? And he says, I'm not talking. All I can say is, I hope they didn't find what they were looking for. Click.
Oh.
Okay. So that's not confirmation, but we're no on it. And so then I called Santa Barbara County Sheriffs and I talked to their public information officer, and I pretended to know more than I did. So I just said, hey, listen, we're dotting our I's, crossing our T's on the raid on Neverland by LAPD. Did you guys go on that? Because normally the jurisdiction outside town will contact you so that you can go with them. And he said, no, we didn't go. And the district attorney locally is a little upset that we didn't call him. But no, LAPD just went on their own. At that point, we knew we had confirmation. So I called David Gascon, again, same guy at LAPD, saying, we're going with this. Can you comment? And he said, I'll tell you this if you come down, that he's under investigation for child abuse. And that started the first case. Wow. Case resulted in a
shocking.
That's when Colin was on the phone, and after you hung up, you went, ooh.
I'm taking down Michael Jackson because people did not want to believe that then, yeah. And they still don't.
Yeah.
And so it's going after movie stars and entertainers is not an easy thing to do, as was the case in O.J. Simpson.
Yeah,
that's true. And Colin's been there for 36 years. You said 36 years.
30.
And I'll tell you why. And the new this is my personal opinion. You're so good because you ask a question, you get an answer, then you have a follow-up question. I noticed that reporters now don't do that anymore. Anchors don't. It's just so important to get a follow-up. And I think that's in a lot of the news media, that's what they're missing. And obviously, you've been around, so and you're still working, that you are phenomenal.
Well, you're very kind. I was hired by Frank Capra's son, a guy named Tom Capra, who was the news director at NBC at the time. And he told me, he said, because I wasn't sure, I came from a small market, and he said, keep your, say yes when we ask you to do something, get to work on time, and keep your ego in check. And if you do those three things, you can have a job for as long as you want. And there's something to be said about longevity. Just keep your ego in check, say yes, and get to work on time. And, you have a good chance of staying a while.
Yeah. One of those things is usually going to make somebody stumble. A lot of people along the way in local news have. So congrats on that. Hey, let me ask you one last question, and then Cato can ask you too. But there's no way something like this could happen again, right? Wouldn't somebody that's in your shoes try to be the story? I mean, maybe swerve in front of him, do something to get followers, become famous. I mean, I just don't see modern day media handling this in the exact same way. If they were in front of OJ's Bronco for multiple miles during the biggest car chase ever.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't happen. And because anybody with a cell phone and a YouTube page can do it now. And so, yeah, it would be done, but it probably wouldn't be done by somebody in the news business.
Yeah, and I 100% agree, because you go by the hits you got on YouTube and the money you can make. But I appreciate, Conan, just the time. And I think before we started the interview, I said things would have been a lot different if OJ was in an Uber. So,
first of all, he would have hydrated. They would have had bottles of water for him.
Yes. Thank you for your time. You were phenomenal. I really appreciate it. And good to, I'm sure I'll see you in person sometime. And I'll make a fact to do that, because we're pretty much neighbors.
Yeah, terrific. Thanks for having me. It was great fun. And again, it was a long time ago. I'm glad people are still interested in it. It wasn't a fun time back then, but it's interesting to look
right.
at.
It always is. Hey, Conan, tell everybody at Channel 4 to follow our podcast, subscribe, download, and subscribe. 1 Degree of Scandalous with Kato Kalin and Tom Zenner.
Especially on your episode. Have them follow. And please charge your phone.
Hey, thanks for standing. Hey, I know it's hot out there too, so thank you for hanging with us. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thank you. That was fantastic. Oh, yeah, it's so great because I met so many people in the news business, and they're also really good people.
Could local reporters that were covering it every day? I'm sure they wanted to get to you. Were you walked on to or into the room that you had to go, and then were you just escorted out and never see reporters, the public, or anything? And
I was escorted out, but there's a shot of me I posted when nothing but reporters would be around me, and I have a poster shot of that, and it was an amazing time that everybody talked about the 50 minutes of fame. I said, no, I'm in my 16th minute, and I have a poster of that. But yeah, everywhere I went, and I had notes under my door from every station to please call and I mean, there are lots of my refrigerator from everyone, because they are trying to be the first to get you on a show. Yeah. So that's what it's like.
Did you handle everything on your own? Did you have an agent? Did you have a helper, a manager?
I had a publicist. Okay. I had but you know what? I started thinking, this is kind of happening on my own. I want to answer for me. I don't want someone to be my voice. I have to be my own voice to find, there's certain I did a magazine. I not bragging, but I did like a GQ shoot. I was like, wow, this is, and your ego, if your ego takes over, you're done. And then another magazine, a very popular one, did an article on me. And I thought the interview went great. The reporters laughing. It was an article that destroyed me. They just wrote things that were not true. And I was like, oh my God, this woman hated me. So,
well, she had an agenda. I mean, she was out to do it clearly.
Because it was when you're really popular, people build you up, and the media wants to see you get to the top and take you down. A lot like Tom Cruise. It's many times that he's been built up and then brought right back down and built up.
But he just keeps rising.
I'll tell you something really. I met everybody I went to the number one parties. I met everybody. Cruise, I didn't meet. I don't think I did. I could have been in the same room as him, but I've always been
wanted to.
Always wanted to be. I always thought, it's a good dude. Well, and he takes a beat. He's a good dude, this guy.
Well, Kato, dreams come true on this show.
Wait a minute.
I think so.
What are you saying?
Take a look over here. We brought in a special guest for you. Let's bring him in.
Get out of here! No way!
Sorry, Daddy's doing an interview. Okay, Daddy's doing an interview. Just give me a second. Hey, and it's an honor to meet
maybe Siri's there too. I want to meet Siri later.
Hey, and how about the fact he's got his
Siri? Just give me a second. Give Daddy a second. Thank
you. Welcome, Tom Cruise Maverick. I mean, my goodness, Kato, did you know this was going to happen?
I did.
If the government trusts me, maybe you could.
Oh, dude, you're seriously my.
I was just saying, there's a little bit of delay here, but it's really wonderful to meet you. Really wonderful to finally meet you, even if it's through a screen.
We'll take it in.
I love you.
Yeah, we tried to get you in the studio, but we don't have a landing strip, and I know that would screw things up.
You need a landing strip.
Hey, Cruise, this show.
I have a rider in my contract. I have very specific requests.
Hey, Tom, this is a show about scandal. Been in any lately? Any want to share? Any that haven't been out there? Anything breaking? Anything happening? I mean, Leah Remini was a little tough on you this past week.
Well, she was a little tough on me, but you know what? I can take it. Okay, I've been down this road before. It's not my first rodeo. It's not my first rodeo, and I love the rodeo.
Eight seconds. He stays on there for 8 seconds. He's a winner.
Listen, I say. Sometimes I stay on there for nine seconds, okay? And I get right back up on that horse. Yeah. I'm resilient. Like no other. And I attribute it all to Dianetics and steam baths and vitamin supplements.
I know.
You can get there too.
In Hollywood, I saw Tom at Saddle Ranch. Everybody's going, can we get on the pony now? Tom, can we have a shot? Tom, it's been 5 minutes, please. No more riding that pony.
I just met the height requirements for that ride. Yeah.
Speaking, that's great. That's a great segue. The height requirements. Now, you're familiar with Nicole Kidman. You guys acted in quite a few films together, and Nicole
quite familiar. Yeah.
As well.
What was that?
They even went home at night together after those movies.
They went there. They made love.
We slept in the same bed. We did.
Well, you had this close relationship with Nicole, and What was it like after you got divorced? And she did an interview, and the first thing they asked her, how do you feel about the divorce? She goes, I'm so happy that I can now wear high heels again. Did that had to hurt? That was great. I would be upset. That was the woman I helped in a career.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cato, let me just tell you something. When you're lying down, you're all the same height. Okay, you're all the same height when you're lying down.
I mean,
that's a fact.
That's word of wisdom from
we were lit. That's right.
That's
also time in the market is greater than timing the market.
Oh yeah, it just sounds like
that's some financial wisdom. We're going through a tough time with crypto.
Yeah, we'll work for Bitcoin. Right. I'll be holding that sign up soon in a freeway.
That's right.
We'll work for Bitcoin.
Do you realize that it doesn't matter?
Exactly.
I mean, when you're of this magnitude, you can say whatever you want, and then when you smile like that, it makes it all good. I mean, that is the perfect defense, isn't it?
That's right.
I mean, it's ideal.
That's right.
It's true.
Absolutely.
Now, some of the scandals that Tom Cruise is involved in, your opinion, was the couch jumping. Now, everybody was talking about War of the Worlds on Oprah.
Sure.
But your love for Katie Holmes at the time, and by the way, Katie Holmes in a Batman Begins with Christian Bale. It's a two-part question. How do you feel, even though it was after it, how do you feel when you see like a wife like a Nicole Kidman or Katie Holmes making out with other actors? Do you understand that whole bit because you make out with the best looking women in the world in film? How do you feel yourself?
I have something, I basically have a conversation with both actors prior to filming, and I step in, I say to the director, please just give me a second, with the actors. And, I make sure that there's a certain amount of saliva that's swapped between the both of them and no more. Okay. Not a millimeter more. Okay.
How do you measure that?
How do I measure that?
How do you measure that, Tom?
He finds a way.
Well, I kiss the male actor first, and I make sure that they understand what that saliva in their mouth is like, that ball of saliva. And then I say, I need you to take no more than that from Kate or
you
Nicole
do the kissing. Okay.
Talk about attention to detail.
Boy,
this is phenomenal.
Sounds like you have a walkout closet.
Hey, Tom, I remember Cato
I suffer for my art. Yeah.
Cato,
I love Tom
probably
Cruise.
about I think literally almost 20 years ago when I was working in television, I did a story because Tom, even at that point, was running in every single movie. And we played clip after clip after clip after clip 20 years ago. I did this story. And now I've seen it evolve. I've seen Extra do it. I've seen ET do it. Yeah. I've seen big stories, even recently, because he ran again, Tom. But man, how many miles do you think you've logged running in movies?
Wow. I can't even track that. The kids they say that tracks. Yeah. I can't even track how many miles.
I mean, he sprints too. Okay? I mean, think about
I'm always running.
Jerry Maguire.
I run from the living room to the kitchen. I run everywhere. I run from the living room to the kitchen. When I have to go number 2, I run to the bathroom very quickly.
Well, Tom, speaking of running, the running you did in the last Mission Impossible, I think it was, where you did the actual, I saw it on the Graham Norton show, you break your ankle. I mean, you took a fall. It was a snap. Yeah. I don't know how long you were out of production, but it was a snap of, because Tom Cruise, the thing, he does his stuff.
Sure.
He does stuff that I think that's why I have so much respect. He can fly a plane. He does the stunts. He jumped from a building to another building his entire life.
He can measure saliva.
Yeah. Measure saliva too. Yeah.
That's right. I can measure saliva. Now, let me tell you something, Cato. When being a producer on these films, I suffer for my films, my crew. I lay it all down. Okay, I put it all in there, 110%, sometimes 1,000%. And what I try to do is, if you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs or breaking some ankles or some bones. And I'm a quick healer, though. I heal quicker than most. Really, it's true. Yeah. Thanks to Dianetics.
Well, that's all Dianetics, and also because you're in shape, you work out and you run from film to film. Yeah. I mean,
That's true.
Speaking Maverick the film, it's the feel good movie. It's the American movie. It just makes you. It's Veterans Day. It's Memorial Day.
This movie was exactly what this country needed.
And you know what? The thing that you did, Tom, is that you said this has got to be in theaters. It's 2 years ago they filmed this. 2 years ago, it's out in theaters. It's genius by your part, and also the Paramount for releasing it.
Yeah. And it's even impressive he hasn't taken the leather jacket off. The bomber jacket just stays on.
It doesn't.
And I gotta say, it's a little bit toasty. It's a little bit toasty in here, and I still am maintaining my composure.
You look good. You look really good. So, Tom, you basically you're single now and all that. Would you have any hard feelings if I meet Katie or Nicole Kidman, maybe work with them on a film? Kato, what'd you throw out?
You had a wedding, what, 4 or 5 weeks ago? You're married now.
I know.
Those are questions you don't ask anymore.
My wife wanted to meet those actresses, not me. She's an actress. Come on.
Nothing would make me happier. Nothing would make me happier.
Maybe riding a Bronco bull with Tom.
Eskimo buddies, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're only listening, make sure you check out this on YouTube, because what you're going to see here is probably the best Tom Cruise impressionist on the planet. You've heard his voice if you're just listening to the audio version. And you know what? Let's introduce him. Evan Ferrante. Evan, I mean, go ahead. Let's see the real you.
Now you really want to subscribe because he's disrobing. He's disrobing right now.
Take off the jacket. Take off my.
There we go. The bangs.
Oh, I love it. He is, and by the way, 100 degrees, and we wear that piece. You just sweat a lot more.
Gosh, as funny as all that was, and as entertaining, and it was off the charts. Man, how did you do? I mean, look, it's the wig, it's the glasses, but man, it's the facial mannerisms that you have, and it's the voice. That's got to be years and years and years of practice and training.
So much training, deep method act. I mean, really, I'm back. I need to charge my phone too. I was at 20%. You get that notification. I apologize.
Well, Evan, I know you have.
So there's a. Yeah,
I was going to. I'm sorry. It's the timing.
Pregnant pause.
I'm going to go in my question with Tom. It's part of Tom's question is how did this even happen? How did it happen? Sure. Did you just notice someone said you look like Tom Cruise? Or you had the imitation first? Did you do it and you became this incredible impersonator, and you're phenomenal? Just tell us that story.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. So it started off as just a joke, a goof, a way to pick up ladies. Back in college, I was 18 years old, Boston University, and my friend does a really great Jean-Claude Van Damme impression. And he said to me, Jerry Maguire just came out in 1996. And so this is 1997, and he says to me, let's like meet people this way. Let's socialize, break the ice. I'll do a Jean-Claude Van Damme impression. You do some Jerry Maguire, help me help you, and you complete me. And let's just like do it Abbott and Costello-esque routine and meet people. And we knocked on dorm rooms. And every once in a while, someone would open it and they'd be accepting and willing to talk to us. And then otherwise we had the door slammed in our face, but it was worth the effort every time. And then I just started doing my impression all over campus at frat parties, at keg stands, it just was a fun thing to do. And
that's 25
and then
years
YouTube ago. So many years ago. YouTube and Funny or Die came out 2004, 2005 ish. And I started putting up some videos before viral was a thing. It was just like, that was a virus, but not like there was no viral kind of terminology at that time. And my videos started doing really well and getting spread around town, Hollywood. I was in New York at the time, in Queens. But I started figuring out that this is actually, there's a demand for this. There's like dare I say it, a need for this. And I started to make a living doing this. It started off as 5% of my income at that time. I was also like dabbling in producing at the time. But now it's 95% of my income. So, it took me 15, 20 years, but it's been like
full time,
very successful. Yeah, it's been a gradual process. And now I'm working more than I've ever worked because of Top Gun, of course.
Well, it's a two-part thing. I'll also tell you two-part question. But one of the first thing I'll say to you is I showed this, I won't mention the name. I showed this to an A-list director and I said, you're going to do the podcast. And maybe something will happen out of there because he does the best comedies in the world. I mean, he's made billions on that. I can tell you later. But that I obviously don't promise you anything, but that's an amazing thing because I think you're great. The other thing is when you have this, do you have actual footage of you and your buddy doing Van Damme and Cruise? Because I'd love to see that clip somewhere.
Oh man. God, I wish there was a fly on the wall taking video of that. Back then it was like right at the advent of cell phones, really. I think I got my first cell phone around that time. So I was playing Snake on it. Everything was black and white. There was no video. So yeah, probably not. But it's etched in our memories, and it's just storytelling.
Sure.
It's really a very visceral time of my life. I remember so many of those moments.
Evan, I'll ask you two, obviously. Good questions.
We'll make one of them. Have you actually met Tom Cruise? Because I want you to ask that one. Ask your two, because I'm really interested about
Have
that.
you ever met Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Has a chance meeting, or has he wanted to meet up with you and seen your work?
Yes.
Did I take away from your question?
We had exactly that, a chance encounter.
Oh, come on.
And you were out of character.
So we had a chance encounter. I wasn't in character. It was at the Chateau Marmont, famed landmark hotel. I know you guys know it. So I was in the garden of the Chateau having drinks and dessert, and I heard a rumor that he was in the building. And I got really excited because I'd never met the guy. But I knew that if I had the opportunity, I would go out of my way to do so. But I looked all over the room, scoured the room. He's not there. I even went to the bathrooms, looked under the stalls, not there. So tried to see if his feet were swinging or something. And then, basically was stalking the room looking for Cruise, and I couldn't find him. So I go back to my table, and suddenly, out of nowhere, I just feel this energy to the left of me, like 10, 15 feet to me. And it's him. He's having dinner with Jeremy Renner and a bunch of people from The Office, Zero Dark 30, like a strange, random group of Hollywood, who's who. And I thought it'd be a nice gesture, a really, a nice way to commemorate our meeting, to send them a bottle of champagne. So I called the waiter over, and I was willing to spend $400, $500 of money I didn't have to buy him a bottle of champagne. And the waiter said to me, no, you'll be banned and I'll be fired. So he immediately shot me down. And so my dreams were shattered. But I was resigned to the fact that I was just going to breathe the same oxygen, and I could look at him and periodically glance at him throughout the evening.
Well, yeah, it had to
my
help.
girlfriend at the time. Yeah.
It had to help where you're able also to scout him, pick up a few ticks and manners just watching him in person.
Wow.
That had been valuable. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Every moment with him was valuable. So my girlfriend said to me, there is no way in hell you're leaving here tonight without meeting Tom Cruise. And I said, Donna, it's okay. I'm fine. Let's just enjoy the evening. Let's have some drinks, dessert. It's fine. I was happy enough. So I'm drinking pretty, not heavily, but it doesn't take much for me. And the night rolls on, and Cruise is the last one to leave, other than myself and my friend and my girlfriend. He doesn't acknowledge me. He just is in his own kind of bubble of existence with his guests. And he's very much like nothing exists other than that bubble, right? And so he says his goodbyes to his party, and he's on his way out. And I'm having its last call at the Chateau. And my phone had died. My phone was dead. And Donna, my girlfriend, excuses herself, goes to the bathroom, right? I'd forgotten about her because I'm drunk. And my friend Jimmy gets a phone call from Donna, but I didn't know that. He just looks at me. He's on the phone, and he doesn't answer the first time, by the way. It's 2 a.m. or 1:50. And I'm like, answer it. He's like, it could be a solicitor. And I was like, it's not a solicitor. Okay. It's 1:50 in the morning. And so he finally answers on the second call, and it was Donna. And he says to me, Tom Cruise is waiting for you at the valet in the lobby. And I said, shut up. Okay. Because he messes with me all the time. And he said to me again, without laughing, Tom Cruise is waiting for you in the valet. And I said, okay, fine. He's waiting for me. So I get up out of my chair and I sprint from the garden. I sprint at top speed from the garden. Yeah, like Tom Cruise would, through the entire hotel to the valet. And he was there with Donna, my girlfriend, about to get on his motorcycle with Jeremy Renner right behind him. And he waited for me. And we had a nice little chat together. We said, it's an honor and a privilege to meet you. You complete me, and all that jazz.
That's a great story.
I didn't go to sleep that night.
Would have been great had you had the actual wig and your look, and then he excused himself from the dinner table, and then you took over the meeting with Renner and the Dark 30 people.
Oh, you guys should try that sometime. Yeah. That'd be a show. That'd be a great show.
Tom Cruise would be in on it.
Yeah, we're talking to Evan Ferrante, a friend of Cato's, right? In one of the top Impressionists. and impersonators of Tom Cruise. What character do you find is the easiest to pick up? Is there one? I mean, or Jerry Maguire kind of has that voice, that shouting, the catchphrases.
Well,
other ones.
Jerry Maguire, yeah. I got to say, Jerry Maguire has the most quotable lines. I think Cameron Crowe just knocked it out of the park for him. And, like, just help me, help you, help me, help you, just help me, help you. Dorothy Boyd, thank you. Everything out of his mouth is just gold. Okay. What do you want from my soul? Well, maybe I'm not built that way, or, tell me then sign with Bob Sugar because I'm a little moved by your word is stronger than oak thing. And those are the pregnant pauses I'm talking about, right? And so then with Mission Impossible is some of the best ones. Kid shit, you've never seen me, very upset, or red light, green light, or I've been trained. Night and Day is so good, very underrated. I've been trained to dismantle a bomb in the pitch black with nothing but a safety pin and a junior mint. Like I don't even know what that means, but it's hilarious.
And it's thank God he's got movies that people know films. Otherwise, you do one that he did with Cameron Diaz, and you do it when I forget that called
Night and Day.
Night and Day. It's like I don't remember that line.
Right.
Yeah.
I
mean that is an obscure quote, great quote. Like there's some amazing lines and very obscure, but yeah. So Mission Impossible is typically the one I get asked to do, or Top Gun. Obviously, I feel the need for speed and woo and all that. You can be my wingman anytime. And I get hired pretty frequently now for corporate annual sales conferences to rally the sales forces. And they usually pair their corporate branding and their identity with Mission Impossible, but it's called Mission Possible. And then with Top Gun, obviously, and Jerry Maguire's Show Me the Money. It all is perfect for corporate America.
Right.
So I do a lot of work in corporate America. I do a lot of commercial work. I do voiceovers for animation and different things like that. I was on Animaniacs last year as Cruise.
Yeah.
And you're married.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting. Yeah. What's that? I'm a married man? Not yet. Oh. I'm a taken man, and I have a baby, but I have a marriage. What do they call it? A life? You're okay. You have lived together for 7, 8 years.
Your life partner. So you have a life partner. Tell me the truth now. What is her name?
Lily.
Does Lily ever say to you, "Hey, Evan, can you be Tom Cruise in bed tonight?"
Yeah, again.
It's funny. I get asked that a lot. I
thought I was original.
I think she had. I've never done it. I've never thrown on the wig and tried to emulate that or do like an American Psycho in the mirror.
After they're married for about 10 years.
Long as Lily doesn't say, "Let me be Tom Cruise."
Right, exactly. Well, she's thrown on the wig, but it wasn't in that context. But it's very funny. We toss the wig around a lot because the wig is hilarious. I've had it for 10 years. Yeah. My baby, who's 2 or close to 2, wears the wig. It's just great. It's a great piece to have in the house as a prop. And I guess we have role played from time to time. We've done sketches together because she does a little acting, dabbles in it. But in the bedroom, I've never really done that. But a lot of people have asked me about it.
It's interesting, Cato. Next time you come to Manhattan Beach to visit me, I'm going to take you to Dorothy Boyd's house, the yellow house from Jerry Maguire. Yeah, is in Manhattan Beach, the iconic one that Tom Cruise was. You complete me. I think he was using that line at the house. Evan, you should come hang with us and we'll recreate it. But here, sure. This show is about scandal.
I'd love to.
Right? This show is about scandal, but the fact that Tom Cruise really isn't involved in too many scandals helps you. Right. I mean, that keeps you employed. That you don't want him really falling off the face of the map. And this had to be the best thing for your career with Maverick coming back.
Okay, so let me tell you something about scandal. Okay, so whenever he is scandalous, like the couch jumping, the Matt Lauer incident, when he squirted with the squirt gun that the interviewer did. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's one of my favorite clips. He says, you're being a jerk. He holds him. He's like, you're being a jerk. You're being a jerk. No, I got this. As his mother, someone tries to wipe his, the water away. It's the best thing I've ever seen. He said, come back here. Don't run away. We were having a conversation. You squirted me with a squirt gun. So whenever he has moments like that, actually work quite a bit. Yeah. Now, hopefully, he's never Me Too'd. I hope that never happens, and I hope that he's never, something else that's terrible never, happens to him. That would be beyond repair. But the stuff he's done which was the Oprah couch jumping and the Matt Lauer bit being very egotistical and he's an expert on all things, psychology. You don't know the history of psychology. I studied it. You're being glib, like that gets me a lot of work because it's hilarious to recreate that and parody that. But yes, of course, if he's doing a big blockbuster film, that's me milking it for all it's worth. Of course, I'm front of mind of every event planner, every booker out there is like, oh, well, Tom Cruise. There's nothing bigger than Tom Cruise right now. Nothing bigger than Maverick and Top Gun. So yes, I get booked all the time. And my tagline actually for my own business is when you can't, I'm not Tom Cruise, right? But I'm the next best thing. And when you can't afford Tom Cruise, you hire me, which is true. You can't afford Tom Cruise. So anyway, it's been a great run, and I hope it continues. It
will continue. You know what? So people that are watching and also listening, how can they? Well, first of all, how do they hire you, and how do you want the people to follow you? We'll give you this opportunity to tell everybody.
Thank you.
Take it away.
You've been a great supporter. And I appreciate you, Cato. So Not Tom Cruise is my name. So nottomcruise.com is my website. You can find all my information there. Instagram is Not Tom Cruise Official. YouTube is Not Tom Cruise. Just look for Not Tom Cruise. I'm very easy to find. And on Cameo, I am Not Tom Cruise. So Cameo, I do a lot of business. I do special shout outs to friends, families, loved ones, coworkers. And I truly enjoy doing that. It's like my little kind of gift to everybody. It's like, it really spreads joy. And I love doing that.
Great. All right. You got a gig tonight? Got to get back into character? Heading off somewhere?
I don't have a gig tonight. No, I don't, but I'm headed off to Cleveland next week, Cleveland, Ohio, and Naples, Florida. And then I've got I did a cocktail happy hour last week. I was doing a cocktail shaking move for a corporate thing. So I do happy hours sometimes, kind of like hosting the event, interstitial moments. But yeah, there's always fun things for me to do as Cruise. Risky business, sliding across the floor in my underwear,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll let him go.
Do it all.
We'll let him go. But maybe the next time we see Evan, maybe a Kato Kalin impersonation. Maybe you could work on. I bet that you could grab a few catchphrases. There might be.
I'll work on it.
Well, speaking of that, the impersonators that were the best of my impersonations that I've been asked that before, who've done the best. Now, Dana Carvey did it. Yeah. David Spade has done it.
Dana Carvey, of course.
Yeah, but the best one that I've ever seen that I did a double take. Was Martin Short on his special, and it just had me.
I love Martin Short.
Reading in Gilligan's Island, and it was.
No. I have to ask you a question. What was it about the impression of Martin Short's that blew everyone else away? I mean, because they're all incredible, each one you mentioned. So what was it about his? Because it's not about the lookalike part; it's about the wit.
I think Martin Short had I think Saturday Night Live, I know some of the performers, they have to do it week by week, and they don't have time, all the time in the world to look at every nuance. They can get the voice, the hair, they can stage it. I think Martin Short, when he did it on his special, he had months, and I think he prepared, and it was, he just had every nuance and every kind of, and all my nuances, and he did it great. And I forgot one other was, did the voice perfect was Harry Shearer. So it was great impersonations. Once again, you're a great impersonator, and you pick up perfectly with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, great job, Evan. Thanks so much, man.
I'm honored. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's going to be great. We'll let you know.
Of course.
Everybody out there, please follow Evan, hire Evan, and watch it on 1 Degree of Scandalous.
Yep. Good luck in Cleveland. Great seeing you. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Hang on to that wig.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Hang on to the wig.
Thank you.
Imagine how many people are just doing not even a double take, but they're freaked out because they can't even believe it, how real it looks.
Yeah, I know. That was one of the questions I want to ask him, which I know is true. I think people will look at him and they'll know it's like, is that Tom Cruise? Is that, because I would hear that it's like, that's Kato, I think, Kato. And you hear it, they don't think you can hear it, but they're so obvious that you hear them, good or bad, what they're saying. Yeah. But I'm sure he hears it all the time. Exciting. From Conan Nolan to Evan Ferrante to Tom Cruise.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Was it a weird week for you? Do people reach out to you and do you wish this didn't have to be commemorated, or people think about it, or people even talk about it?
I had a few calls. I did have a article, a company called to see if I want to talk about it. I didn't, so I didn't return the call. But I had a phone call with someone involved in the trial, was one of the detectives, and I stayed in touch with one of the
Mhm.
detectives, and maybe you'll meet him soon.
Okay. I
I'd
like
like-
that. Ask him onto the show. Okay. Invite him. Everybody's welcome here.
Yeah,
People
I-
involved in that situation and just anybody that's been around scandal.
Well,
We want to talk to them.
Well, you said scandal, and I'll tell you if I do, it's not just the OJ trial. This was a gentleman that also was probably involved in other scandals
Okay.
that are major.
All right. Every week it's getting better and better. What do you got going on? You heading out of town? You
I'm
going
heading
to
out of town
Cleveland with
next
your Tom
week.
Cruise wig?
I'm not. I got the Cato Kalin
Yeah.
hair. I'm going to stay with that. I'm going to be staying here in town. Then I leave next week. I know that you're going to Nashville. I'm going to host a golf charity, and you're going to Nashville for you're going to be
Birthday
on
party.
stage singing.
Good friend of ours, a bunch of people from LA going out to Nashville to have a big old birthday
That
party. We're
sounds
gonna have a lot
like
of fun.
I love
It's gonna
Nashville.
be. It's our very, very good friend. He's a prominent doctor here. Unfortunately, he just broke his foot yesterday. Like the 2 days before we're gonna go to Nashville, he broke his foot in 2 places.
Is
So
he-
we're gonna have to
two
carry him
places
around.
Where? How did you do that? You mean like in Manhattan and then Hermosa?
Right. One
Two-
wasn't enough. So we
Oh,
did it
2
twice.
places. I got you.
And then Dash, my son, who you met, has a big baseball tournament in Omaha during the College World Series
Ooh.
next week. I used to work in Omaha, so I used to live there for 3 years. So it'll be fun to go back for the
I
first
did.
time.
I did the Larry the Cable Guy golf charity there, and Larry's the biggest sponsor of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Big fan. Great golfer, by the way.
Really?
And funny man.
He's a Lincoln guy, Lincoln, Nebraska. And yeah, man, he's carved out a hell of a career, hasn't he? From all
Yep.
of it. All right.
You're
well,
a traveling man.
that's about a wrap. Cato, let's keep this engine rolling. See you again next week.
I will not leave until I hear Armin clapping.
There we go.
I can go home now.
It's kind of a regular here.
1 degree of scandalous.
Cato, ask for an applause and we say goodbye. Thanks so much, everybody. Download and subscribe. We'll catch you next week. Cato Kalin and Tom Zenner, 1 degree of scandalous.